Twitter has unveiled a plan to remove thousands of accounts linked to the conspiracy group QAnon on its platform. The company tweeted Tuesday, "We've been clear we will take strong enforcement action on behavior that has the potential to lead to offline harm." In line with this approach, this week we are taking further action on so-called QAnon activity across the service. So far, Twitter has removed more than 7,000 accounts with ties to the group. Followers of QAnon are often seen at Trump rallies and believe there is a deep state effort to take down the president. Twitter estimates there are more than 150,000 accounts worldwide associated with the group. While Twitter works to combat the spread of disinformation on its platform, an investigation is underway into last week's data hack on the social media network. The New York Times is reporting a group of young hackers infiltrated Twitter's internal servers using stolen employee credentials. Once in, they posted to several prominent accounts, including those of Barack Obama, Kanye West, and Jeff Bezos. The posts were part of a large-scale Bitcoin scam, asking followers of the accounts to send Bitcoin to a specified address. In total, more than 130 accounts were compromised, and data was downloaded from 8 accounts, which could include users' private messages. On Saturday, Twitter released a statement saying, quote, "We are embarrassed, we're disappointed, and more than anything, we're sorry. We know we must work to regain your trust, and we will support all efforts to bring the perpetrators to justice." Investigations have been launched by Twitter, the FBI, and New York State regulators. This latest hack has proven the social media platform, despite its best security efforts, is still vulnerable. With the 2020 election rapidly approaching, there are new concerns about the damage bad actors could have on the election. CNET senior producer Dan Patterson joins us now with more on all of this. Hi, Dan. Great to see you. So the investigation into who was behind this attack is underway. The New York Times reporting a small group of young, less experienced hackers was likely behind the breach. So what more do we know about this group and how they carried out the hack? And should we all be even more worried that they seem to be so young and, inexperienced and they were able to do this?
Or capable. Look, Tanya, we talk about hacks all the time. This isn't just a hack. This is one of the most fascinating cyber attacks in years. The basics are that a hacker going by the name of Kirk, who still to this day remains unknown, last week coordinated with a group of other hackers on Discord. Discord is a gamer-friendly chat platform, a lot like Slack. It's built for direct messages and private types of conversations. So these groups of people allegedly conspired. Kirk said, "Hey, I have access." He initially said, "I work for Twitter, and then I have access to these private tools that Twitter uses to moderate different types of accounts." They then coordinated to post these Bitcoin messages on a number of the prominent accounts. Okay, that's fascinating. As all of this was happening, I was talking to people who work in the cybersecurity community. I was also talking to people at Twitter on the record, as well as their spokespeople on the record, as well as different individuals on background and off the record. And look, this was a really interesting hack that seems to be on its surface about Bitcoin, but because we don't know the identity of this attacker, Kirk, and because the high-profile nature of these attacks or of these accounts, there are so many unknowns that we will be telling the story, we will be reporting this story over the next several months. And I will kind of conclude this little wrap-up with this statement. A contact of mine who works for DHS in cyber said, "It feels like flexin'," meaning they're testing something. It feels as though this is an account that's kind of designed to test the infrastructure of Twitter, whether it was about Bitcoin or not. We have shown that Twitter's resiliency, especially with very influential accounts that can start wars, accounts that can move markets, is incredibly impervious to hacking.
Wow. That's pretty scary stuff. So, I mean, as the 2020 election approaches, should we all just assume that what we read on Twitter, whether it's from a verified account or not, should be questioned?
Yeah, we should all question what we see on social media. And the reason for that is that, look, there are uh, perfectly normal actors like you and I who post perfectly normal things on social media, but there are bad actors. There are large swaths of people who find financial motives, political motives, and others to manipulate social networks, not just Twitter, but we see this happening in Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and others. That look, coordinated, inauthentic activity is big business for a number of reasons. Don't take my word for this. Follow the Atlantic Council. They do digital investigations where they provide the forensic evidence of coordinated inauthentic activity. And as we, like you said, Tanya, come up on this election, and as world leaders and business leaders depend on social networks to effectively create policy, we need to be extra dubious about what we see and the actions that we take on the content that we experience on social networks.
And then is there any, question that the network security can be made sufficient? Or will there always be that element of human error or potentially an inside job? Like you said, originally Kirk identified himself as someone who works at Twitter. We don't know whether or not that's the case yet. The investigation continues, but there's always the possibility of, someone having access to one of these social media companies from the inside, coordinating with bad actors on the outside as well, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely, Tanya. Look, Twitter called this a very sophisticated social engineering attack, meaning humans were manipulated. Social engineering, when you hear that, think euphemism for instead of a technical hack like computer code, it's like hacking an individual. If you want to know exactly how incredibly powerful social engineering can be, just go to cbsnews.com and do a search for social engineering, where we had videos of hackers literally in disguise and with devices that could steal your phone information or your building login information, your key fob. So social engineering kind of takes advantage of the one thing that we know is always fallible, and that's humans. We can always be hacked.
All right. Well, Dan Patterson, thank you so much for joining us and giving us, a wake-up call there. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you, Tanya.